Okay, quick little video here on using a formula that happens to have a square root sign in it. We're going to do two examples with two different formulas. The first one here, when an object is dropped from a height of h feet, so h is measured in feet, in the air, the time it will take to hit the ground can be approximated by the following formula, t equals the square root of h divided by 4. If any of you are going on to physics, you will actually be able to work questions like this out using the more precise formulas. What this here is a very close approximation, just simplifying those more complex formulas. If you happen to measure h in feet, this gives you a real close idea to how long an object would take to hit the ground. So if Danny drops her watch from a 60-foot high bridge, how long will it take for it to hit the ground? Round your answer to one decimal place. So this is the equation we have been given, t equals the square root of h divided by 4. And we have been told that in this particular case, h is 60 because that's how high the bridge is. So we see that we got this h in the equation, and we know what h is. So whenever we have that situation, we want to take that h and replace it with the number that we know it is. And when we replace it, we like to replace it with a bracket. Sometimes that matters, sometimes it doesn't make much difference. In this particular case, it really doesn't make a difference. So we're going to pop that 60 in place of where the h was, so 60 in a bracket. And yeah, in some situations, like say there's some multiplication there of that variable, that bracket becomes important, and that'll actually happen in the next example we do. In some cases, as in this one, you just have 60 in a bracket. Well, 60 in a bracket is just 60, right? Nothing else happening to it there. So now we're going to pick up our calculator, and we are going to use it to punch in the square root of 60. And we've talked in another video about there's kind of two different types of calculators, whether you hit the square root button first and then type the number in, or you type the number in and hit the square root button. Make sure you know which type yours is. You should get about 7.745967. It keeps on going on the decimals. That's all I put there. You want to keep enough to make sure you don't get a rounding error in your final answer. So I like to keep at least 2 or 3 more than the decimal places I need in my final answer. And now you can see that we're going to take that number and divide by 4, which gives us 1.9365, and the instructions said to take it to one decimal place, so we are going to round that. We look at the digit after the 9. It is smaller than 5. We ignore everything after that, so that is going to round down to 1.9. So it's going to take Danny's watch about 1.9 seconds to hit the ground. So there's example number 1. Let's look at example number 2. The speed s in miles per hour that a car was going when an accident occurred can be approximated by measuring the distance d of the skid mark on the pavement in feet and using the following formula. I do apologize, by the way, that all these examples are in feet and meters. Obviously, originally created by not by a Canadian organization, by something from the US, most likely. I'm still working in feet and miles and stuff. But again, if you go to the physics, there are accurate formulas which you can use, and if you are working in imperial units, it simplifies to this approximate formula. And this is literally something that the police would use, something like this, a similar idea, to get an idea if there's an accident and the car slammed on the brakes, were they going too fast or not? So if police investigators measure a skid mark of 260 feet, approximately how fast was the car going? Round to the nearest whole number. Okay, so here is the equation we have been given to use. And in this particular case, we have been told that the distance of that skid mark is 260 feet. So once again, we are going to want to take the d in the formula and replace it with 260 because we know that's what d actually is. And again, when we do that replacement, we want to use a bracket. So whenever we're subbing in for a variable, and so the d is going to be replaced by a bracket. What goes in the bracket? the value of D, 260. And you can see in this case that the bracket is relevant, because if we didn't put the bracket there, it would just say 24260, which of course is not correct. It's 24 times 260, right? So this is why we use those brackets when we sub in. Let's pick up the calculator and multiply 24 times 260. You should get 6,240. And then use your square root button again, whether you have to just hit the root once the 6240 is on the screen. That would be how some calculators would work. Other calculators, you're going to have to hit the root and then type that 6240 back in. Either way, you should get 78.9937. The question said to round to the nearest whole number. Well, this is going to be easy because there's the ones position right there for rounding to a whole number. Look at the next digit. It is bigger than 5, so that is going to go up to 79. The car was going approximately 79 miles per hour is what the MPH stands for there. Hope that helps.